now. And then I also, as I get older, I understand that there are a few moments in your life, and this applies to relationships too. So I want people to know this.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few moments in your life that are truly can't miss, one in a lifetime moments.
Mm,
Only a few,
yeah.
maybe one hand, maybe you can include a second hand.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, a lot of these moments and people that you think are once in a lifetime opportunities or something that can't ever happen again is not true. Like, these things will come up again. These
Yeah.
things will happen again.
Mm-hmm.
These things will show
Yep.
themselves maybe in a different way
Yeah.
or maybe from a different place. But a lot of these things aren't can't miss opportunities, but you will approach them sometimes maybe because it's the first time that opportunity has happened for you.
Yeah.
You think that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Never
I've
gonna
never
happen.
met somebody who's been this passionate about me in a relationship. Oh, this is a once in a lifetime thing. I need to take advantage of this. I need to look past some of the BS because will this ever happen again? And you'll realize, no, there'll be other people that will do that.
Yeah.
But this is just your first time. So you're
Yep.
seeing it as this experience that I got to catch it
Gotta
now.
do it
I
now. I
got to
gotta
do it
give it
now.
all. I gotta give it my all.
Hey guys, welcome back to our real scenario. Shout out to all our real lovers out
Hey,
there.
guys.
We are back with another episode, and it's happy to
Yes.
be here. I'm happy to be here.
Always.
My happy place.
Always. I was driving here today like
Same. I was talking to Bree yesterday. Her mom was talking. She was like, "Oh, what's Dre's schedule?" And she's like, "Oh, Dre's busy. He working like all weekend. Like he got to do whatever, film with Rhonda." And I was like, "Well, that's fun though.
Yes, it's like fun work.
It's like fun work.
work.
It's
fun
actually
work.
something I enjoy. It doesn't feel like work. So it doesn't
No.
feel like, oh, Saturday. Dang, I gotta
Yes.
go in and do this." It's
Gotta
like,
go
nah,
meet
we
these.
having fun.
It's like, yes, it's a joy. I got up nice and early. It's just had my coffee, took my time, read over things.
For sure.
Yes, it's very exciting. You know, they say you find like your job, when you find the job where you love to do it, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah,
That's this.
for sure.
That's this.
I completely agree.
Yes.
We want to thank all of our real lovers for tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
As you always do, those who are watching, welcome.
Welcome.
A little different setup today.
You know,
trying
if
something
you've
different.
been here since the beginning, you might remember this.
Might remember this. Something a little different. Same
Yeah.
space, but different setup.
Yes.
So we appreciate those people who are watching and those who are listening as well. One thing I want to emphasize, we are creators. We are people out here making content for folks. Just one thing you can always do to support us that doesn't cost you anything. A few
Not a
things.
dime, not a
I'm
dime.
gonna let y'all know a few
Let's
things.
go through the list. Mhm.
Subscribing to the YouTube.
Yes.
Also on podcasts, there's this thing. If you go on Apple Podcasts, any of your podcast apps, if you go to the podcast, there's like a little thing up top on the right that says like follow or like a plus sign. Like doing that is like a huge thing because then it notifies you when new podcast episodes are coming. If you do that, that would be a huge thing for us. We appreciate that.
That's only two things.
And then writing reviews, that's another thing.
Easy.
And then sharing with people who you feel like this content would be good for.
Four little things.
Free to
Four
you,
little things.
but
They're
mean a lot
super
to us.
easy. Yes. So please do that. Like, we're gonna remind you every single episode, every time, just so you know. But we need you to do that.
Yes.
It means a lot to us just as individuals, but it's very helpful to what we do to make sure that we can give you the stuff that you love. We can make this bigger and better for you. So
sure.
we appreciate y'all.
We really, really appreciate y'all. Speaking of real lovers, I want to highlight somebody who is doing one of them things. And it's giving us
somebody
a nice
that's following
review.
Instructions.
Yeah. So this is from P Spot.
Okay.
This is a review on Apple Podcasts. It says, great podcast. They always have different perspectives on the scenarios that I wouldn't have thought about. I love the advice that is given and I can pertain to my life. Thank y'all for having a great podcast.
Thank you, P Spot. We appreciate that.
We
so
appreciate
much.
that. That's one thing we love about or we pride ourselves on and want to always do when we're doing this podcast is making sure that no matter what the topic is, that we take like practical advice and principles out of each one that we feel like can apply to anybody's situation.
For sure, yeah. Like reasonable, sensible advice.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Well, thank you, P Spot. And shout out to all our real lovers. Like I said, write a review, please do that. That helps us out a lot. But
Sincerely.
we're excited to be back. There's a lot of things going on in the world, as we know.
Always.
A lot of craziness.
It doesn't feel like the news cycle has been a little wild lately. Maybe it always feels like that.
Yeah.
But if I feel it right now that it's just like so much. I'm not even gonna get into all the things because it's just been a lot.
Yeah.
It's been a lot.
But what's our real life love scenario of the day? Which one do we want to focus on?
We're gonna talk about one of my favorite people.
Okay.
Russell Wilson. Shout out to you. One day I just feel like you'll watch this show once it comes across your feed. But Russell Wilson just was somewhere innocently minding his business, being the amazing athlete,
yes,
son,
yes,
husband, and father that he is to his children.
Yes.
All of them. And here comes his wife's ex, Mr. Future.
Dirty soda in the styrofoam.
Mr. Future has a new song out with Quavo called Turn Your Click Up.
Mm-hmm.
And he has some interesting lyrics in there. Some about the stuff he normally sings about. But then there's one lyric in particular where he takes a shot at Russell Wilson. One of my favorite people. Okay. Did I say that already?
Yes, you did. Okay. Yes, you did.
So I wanted to talk about that because I cannot understand for the life of me why Future seemingly has a problem with Russell Wilson. Him and Ciara have not been together in a very long time. Their son is, I think he's roughly a preteen. He's probably like 9 or 10, somewhere around there. They broke up before he was even 1 year old. And Russell and Ciara have been together for a long time now. So where this lyric came from just seemed to be like, why are we doing that? But the lyric is, got it out the field, F a Russell. So, a little play on the fact that Russell is a football player.
Yes.
He plays on a field.
Yes.
But why? I just need to understand why.
What Michael Jackson say? Tell him that's human nature.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know why that reminded. Why? Why?
Tell him that it's human nature. Why? We love a music moment.
It's a song for every moment. I'm trying to tell you, every situation in life. This was interesting to me. As you guys know, I have a special place for Russ and Ciara in my heart because I kind of broke their relationship back in the day, back in 2015. You know, you can look on my page. I was like one of the first people to be like, "Yo, they out here," and it went viral. But I was trying to give Future the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
When I first heard it.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe talking about Russell Simmons.
Russell Westbrook. Except he plays on a court.
He plays basketball.
Not on a field.
But maybe Russell Simmons, I don't know. Maybe he's in music and it said something about brothers a few lines before. I don't know. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt to say like, all right, he ain't talking about Russell Wilson.
Right.
But then some time went past and when you could have been like, nah, that wasn't even what I was talking about.
Right, because the blogs picked it up.
Yeah, you could have cleared it up. Yeah. There was no clear up. And I was like, dang. So then my head went to, okay, for a lot of us, this is old. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, super old.
We should know this.
Yeah.
However, if he's co-parenting, with Russ and Ciara and baby Future, this is still relevant to him currently.
Yes.
So although we as people feel like it's old, to him it's still happening. It's life right now.
Sure.
So I don't know maybe there was something that happened.
Perhaps,
maybe there was a disagreement. And some of these songs are recorded. You don't know when they were recorded.
Yeah.
Like could have been a few months ago, even a year ago, sometime when a song is recorded. But I just think that maybe it's impossible to know what's actually going on in their family dynamic. But I think that it's a little bit of probably some saltiness with the situation.
Yeah.
Because even like we talk with Darius and Kiki, certain things when you just see it don't feel good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. You a man and you see another man doing fatherly things with your son and that's your son. Like,
yeah.
It ain't gonna feel good.
Yeah.
I can't imagine in what situation, you would be like, maybe in a situation where you can't care for that kid or you can't provide for that kid.
Sure.
Maybe that's okay. But like certain situations, even in that, I think it would still sting and still hurt. So I understand the feelings behind it. But the whole publicly calling them out on a song, I just think, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's warranted. I do know that a lot of people who are in that artistic community, even for somebody like Beyonce or Jay-Z, express themselves through music.
Sure.
A lot of people are way more cryptic.
Yeah.
With
they're not so direct.
and not super direct when it comes to how they communicate.
Yes, they
how
do it
feeling.
so it's ambiguous enough where it's like it could be, but it might not be.
It's the squint, head turn. Maybe I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, yes.
But nah, this was direct. But then I also think, there's always a point to where it's like, there's a button that you could push that will get people talking. So maybe there's a little bit of that in there. Like even when Chris Brown for what was the one song where he yelled like Karuchi?
Oh yeah.
Like you just know people are gonna be like,
yeah,
like people are gonna react to that. So maybe there's a little bit of that in there too. But overall, like there's a lot of different situations that your child can be in. If you move on from the mother of that child and that woman gets remarried or enters into a new relationship. It's a lot of different situations.
Yeah.
I would think if there was one, if I had to choose a situation or a man that I feel like I would want my child to be around to be influenced positively when I'm not there and when I'm not present, that I don't know if it gets much better than somebody like Russell Wilson. Yeah. And I don't know him personally, but everything you hear, everything you understand about him and his character,
seems very stand up.
Yeah, it seems like a very stand up guy.
Yes,
and
I agree.
Something that you'd be like, okay, cool, like I'm okay with that. So I don't understand the beef, but
I think you brought up a really good point, and it's not that I didn't consider it. I just feel like even at a low level, you think about it from a celebrity perspective, we're always like, you use Beyonce and Jay-Z, you deal with stuff and it's like you expect them that if they're dealing with things personally that they won't talk about it because they're these massive public figures. So privacy and discretion is like probably such a priority. But I remember growing up, my mom is not famous. We not public figures. And I was always told, what happens in this house stays in this house, and there was nuances with that, right? Because if there were things that needed to be talked about, like something bad was happening, you're supposed to speak up about that. But the inner workings of how we deal with our family, our dynamics and different stuff like that stuff stays in the house. So to your point about there could have been a thing, right? Maybe there was something that rubbed Future the wrong way.
Yeah.
Maybe him and Russell did bump heads over something, which is possible. They're in a co-parenting dynamic, so it's possible. But that's house business, and you putting it on wax or putting it in a song in that way, especially just the way you worded it. You said F a Russell, like he can get out of here. To me, that's just too strong of a statement, even if you plan on it because you're looking for popularity or for your song. I don't think you should use a real dynamic that likely already has some of its own challenges to like take a dig at this man who, even with you all bumping heads, you are family. You are a part of that family. You all again have a familial connection. I am not a parent, and I'm most certainly not a man or a dad, but I can probably imagine that, yes, like you said, it's hard to see your son bonding with another man, in some ways potentially more than you can, because he lives in the house with your son. You don't. Y'all don't even live in the same state. Like, so you see your son probably, not probably, you definitely see your son less than Russell sees your son. He wakes up with him, he goes to bed with him, other than when Russell himself is working and he's away for his job. So I don't know. It's just like, why do you want to sour in any way that relationship? As two adult men, yeah, we can have our things, but ultimately we're doing this for the child. Like, what is baby Future experiencing? What is his understanding of the situation? He is of age enough to see things online. I'm sure they go out of their way to protect him, to like, maybe he doesn't have his own cellular device the way he's just on it at liberty. I'm sure there are protections around that, but he's going to grow up to a point where that's not going to be the case. He's going to be a teenager where he is going to have his own device, and he can go and look up stuff, and he will be told things because he goes to school where his classmates could be like, yo, your dad is like, your dad don't like your stepdad, you know? I just think about that. Like when you're just trying to be fun and cool and a rapper, are you thinking about the fact that your son is seeing you disrespect his stepfather, a man that he likes, a man that he loves, a man that he learns a lot from? He's seeing you disrespect him and he may not actually understand why. What are you going to say when you come and be like, Dad, why did you say that about stepdad? Like, why? What was the reason? Can you really look your son in your eyes and say, well, because I wanted the song to pop, because I wanted the blogs to pick it up, because I wanted, you know what I mean? Like, that's childish.
For
You're an
sure.
adult. That's something that Baby Future would do, something kiddie like that. So I don't know. It's just like, yes, it's funny. We can laugh about it and be like, oh, you so jealous of that man. That's a good man. You know, us women, we say that a lot. Like, I even cheekily posted like, happy Father's Day, Russell. Because for me, every day's Father's Day for you. It looks like you really enjoy being a dad.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, and then I'll get off of it, think that Future is not there for his son. I just think that Future just does not choose to post about it. If you look at Future's social media, he does not post about his personal life at all. He doesn't post his mother. He doesn't post anybody. He don't post his other kids. He, for the most part, only posts about his artistry. And so I do think he's active in his son's life. I believe that. So it does look like, yeah, it probably is a bit of a sting that Baby Future, I've heard him in videos call Russell dad. Not dad something, you know, the alteration of dad or mom that some stepchildren do. Like he calls him dad. And so that might sting him, but you're a man, right? You got to deal with that with your kid. You can't take that out on that man who is there helping to rear your son the best way he knows how. And it looks like he's doing a damn good job at it.
Yeah.
So I just want Future to be mature.
Yeah.
I want him to be mature and I want him to understand his actions today. He needs to be able to answer for them later if they're not the right decisions.
And that's something that people don't always take into account when it comes to dealing with children, is that at some point they'll end up, you know, seeing these things, and then they'll end up processing these things and then starting to put it into context. So it's like, even as I've gotten older, and I'm sure the same for you, you've seen certain things with your parents to where you may not have understood why they did it. But once you got older and became an adult and understand how life works, you're like, I see what was going on there. And either you could offer your parents grace in certain situations later on, or you might look back at your parents and be like, yo, I really don't understand why you did. Now it makes less sense to me.
Yes.
And
now I have questions.
And now I have questions and I don't get it. But I think that also, like, even though what may have happened may have been internal, it's still like a public thing. And I think because someone like him may not post his family or anything on the internet, is that there's always a narrative that people have. There's always a story and how people perceive things to be. And I think that, you know, in his mind, maybe it's like unfair that it just seems like he's not this great father, or that his father loves Russ, or his kid loves Russ more than he loves him. And I don't know, maybe it irritates him and gets to him. And even possible too, it's like when you move on from something, not saying that you don't want the worst for that thing, but you know,
don't want the best for it either.
You kind of want to feel like your impact was substantial on that person, whether it's a person that you left or a job that you left. You want to feel like your impact was substantial enough to where if you left, there would be some type of hit, or there would be, you know, some struggle.
Would be struggling.
Yes. But when you see somebody, you leave them and there seems to be somewhat of an upgrade. There seems to be somewhat of more happiness. There seems to be, like, those things will make you feel like, damn, maybe I'm the one who messed up.
Like, I literally cannot say her loss.
Yeah.
You cannot. You
maybe
can't.
I messed up. Maybe I was the one holding them down. Like, and it's got to be challenging to deal with and managing all those emotions. And if you don't manage these emotions in the right way, then you can tend to lash out. And I won't even say that it was like lashing out per se, because obviously if you put it on a record, you thought about it, you listened to it multiple times, and it was just like, all right, this is what I'm doing. So it was somewhat premeditated.
Yeah.
But I can understand the emotions behind things. I just, like we always say, is better ways of probably handling it and communicating it. And ultimately, like we said on a few episodes ago, it's like, when I take this action, what am I actually accomplishing by taking this?
Yes.
Like, what do I want to accomplish, and what will it actually accomplish? And I think if you looked at this, whatever positives, I don't even know what they could be, but whatever they are from him doing that, whether that is an additional boost in record sales or something in that nature, I know that there's probably so small and insignificant compared to what the bigger picture is, which is having a great relationship with his son, and also the person who is the stepfather to his son.
That's right. That's it. The last thing I'll say on this really quickly is that people interpreted Russell's post after the whole song came out. It was
to be a shot.
Yes, they interpreted his post as a very positive shot back at him, which was him in a field throwing the ball with baby Future. He of course makes absolutely no reference to the song. You know, he has a very basic caption, which is just talking about how well Future is progressing.
Hashtag dad life.
Yep. Hashtag dad life. Something he posts, you know, that's a hashtag he uses when he posts with any of his children, his biological as well as Future. I also really appreciate the fact that he refers to him as his child. That may bother dad, right? The biological dad. It might really bother Future. But I think, again, that's a thing to make sure baby Future doesn't feel different. And when you're growing up, that's the last thing you want to feel. Everything about your existence as a kid is to fit in. It's to fit in within your household. It's to fit in school. It's to fit in sports. It's to fit in with girls or boys. And so I don't necessarily think Russell was taking a shot, but
no, I mean, I don't think so. I think sometimes your presence, just if you operate in a certain way, it makes people
with
feel
integrity.
uncomfortable. But a big conversation around this too, and we'll go into our real love scenario.
It's a hot one though.
It is a hot one, but I think that, and we have some other real life love scenarios that we're going to talk about in future episodes, but it brings me back to this thought of tradition and like how things traditionally are, what titles traditionally mean. And because something was always one way, does that mean that we hold to that standard? Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like because, let's say you birthed someone, you can feel entitled because your title is technically biologically their father to certain things.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's traditionally how we have operated.
Sure.
But if somebody, and not saying that Future isn't, but if somebody is but in a child's life and they are more present and they are taking on that role of what truly a father or a caretaker as a man would be for that child, that is their father. That is their dad. Now, not biologically, right?
Yes, he's not a biological father.
But as far as the responsibilities, that's, to me, the responsibilities and the actions that you take is what defines the position. You can call yourself a leader, but if you ain't leading in an organization or in a group, you're not a leader. Because the actions, the way you move, are not of a leader.
Yeah.
And I think that's, even in jobs, it's like, if you are a cashier, but you stocking shelves, like, I'm looking at what you're doing, and even though your title say cashier, you're not a cashier, you stocking shelves. That's not what you're doing. That's not the position that you hold. So it's like your actions should match what your position or title is. And I think that traditionally we always just give people, because they have a certain title, certain traits, certain responsibilities, and certain entitlements because they hold a title. But it's like, yo, unless you come with the actions that back that up, that's even though you titled that, like, that's not truly what you are, and therefore not necessarily deserving of that title. And not talking about Future, because I don't know if he's present, like, or not. We assume that he is, but just saying that, it just makes me think of tradition and what people think is owed to them because of something. And I feel like a lot of times in these situations in real life, even outside of this situation, somebody feel like they're owed something because they're positioned, but they don't even want to assume the responsibility, but they're upset seeing somebody else assume the responsibility.
Yes.
It's like, you shouldn't be doing that because that's my responsibility, but I ain't ready to do it yet. But when I'm ready,
but when I want it to be available to me when I am ready.
So nobody else should be doing it until I'm ready to do it, because you crossing the line.
Didn't we just had this conversation off camera?
Yeah, we did.
About a whole different situation.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's just crazy that it's like
wild.
You can't act like that.
You cannot act like that.
And you can't be mad that, especially with children, if there's a void and it's being filled by somebody else because you are choosing not to fill it, you can't be upset at that.
You cannot.
You have the option, you have the opportunity to do it. And honestly, you know what? We rather you be the one to do it because you are the child's parent.
That's it.
But if you're choosing not to, we're not just going to let this child
not have it.
So somebody steps in and assumes that role. And if they do that, you can't be upset at that.
You really can't. You can't. Well, you can.
Well, you could be upset,
but it doesn't make a lot of sense that you would be upset about it. But crazier things have happened. Yeah. Crazier things have happened.
And then even for me, like my stepdad, like it was the same situation for me. My dad was always in my life ever since I can remember.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad, and will always remember my dad in this way, because he was over my grandmother's house. He used to talk and hang out with me and my stepdad. So there would never be a time I look back at my dad's like, man, why he do that? Or why he make things so difficult? Or why he challenged. But with that being said, I am my dad's child, but also living in the home with my stepdad. A lot of the same character traits in my stepdad has are in me.
That's right.
I'm a part of both of them.
You had the blessing of having two dads.
Exactly.
Two good men in your life that loved you and cared for you and wanted the best for you, that you could draw things from. And that I'm sure some of the things of who you are from your biological father.
For sure.
Some are from your mother.
For sure.
Some are from your stepfather. And that's a beautiful thing. The more the merrier. They say it takes a village.
For sure.
It has to be the right village. I didn't have the same. I wish I could say that. My father was more like Future. My father, when my mother got married, which my stepfather, the person I call my stepfather today is not the man I'm talking about when I'm saying this. My mother was married to a man. My father was so petty during that time. Like when he would give me birthday cards, he would like sign it, "Your one and only father." It's like, boy, you are barely my father. Like you are biologically my father, but you aren't showing up. Like you just said, you aren't showing up like my father. This man who was in my house and at that time was being more of a father figure to me. That certainly changed after a while, but I wish that I could have said specifically about both of them at that time that I was getting great things from them. But I'm so thankful for my stepfather, who I still call Mr. Winston, which is like weird because it feels like unfamiliar. But that's just because that's what I called him because I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I got so much from him, and I still get so much from him today. And I got a lot from my father too. So I can say that about those two men. But I wish that I didn't have to experience my dad being petty like that. Yeah. I knew as a kid that my father was being petty. Like, you ain't always sign my cards like that, dog. Why would you say that? Wishing the Wilson / I don't even know Future's last name, whatever. Wishing y'all all the best in that situation and leave the pettiness outside. Nobody needs that. All right, let's jump into our real love scenario.
Yes.
All right, this week we are hearing from O.
Oh.
That's her request to be called O. I'm going to call her Nicki Minaj.
Okay.
She says, I want to start off with genuinely saying I appreciate the podcast. I'm 23 years old and new to the dating scene, but listening to others' real love scenarios and the advice you give has taught me a little about the dating world. My real love scenario is that I have been talking to this guy for 2 months now. We met at a family event. He is 22. Before I decided to pursue any relations with him, my family did advise me that he has a baby, which is 6 months old at the time, and that the baby's mom was a little crazy. Despite this, we ended up liking each other deeply, and between that time, we have been talking, and I noticed that he wants something serious with me. The downside of this is his child's mother lives with him and his mother. She DM'd me one time sending screenshots of their messages and that they were having sex, which I confronted him about, and I found out she left some messages out. She also called me once stating that they were broken up, but they would eventually get back together. Their relationship is toxic and our relationship is more stable, which is why I think he gravitates towards it. I have tried leaving him and explaining that this is a lot, but he pleads to me that him and his baby's mom they're not together, and that she doesn't want to see him move on, and that she will do anything for me to leave him alone. I've spoken to my family and friends. I get mixed opinions about if I should leave him alone or if I should do what my heart is telling me. I would like your insight on this entire situation. Thank you, O.
Thank you so much for writing
Minaj.
in. This is interesting. Wow. I have a lot of thoughts, but where would you like to start?
Whew. I had to chuckle a little bit before we jump into where to start. I had to chuckle a little bit at the sentence of their relationship is toxic and ours is not.
Well, it's just a pool of toxicity.
The whole damn thing is toxic.
I'm just going to tell you something right now, and I may be jumping the gun, but listen.
Go ahead, jump it.
If somebody is an alcoholic and they got a bottle sitting on the dresser, and they telling you I ain't going to drink no more, it's probably not a great environment to do that. If somebody say they ain't doing drugs no more, but cocaine laid out on the dresser, it's probably not a good. If somebody says, I'm going on a diet, but they got honey buns sitting at the end of the bed, they're probably not going to be able to stay committed. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
His baby mother is living with him. And you talking about y'all relationship. She there. She in the house.
Oh, goodness. She's in the house with this man every day. Crazy.
When you think he get the urge, what do you think he gonna do first?
Right. I mean, she right there. And she wants him.
And she wants it. She antagonized. He been there before. Probably like it. So much he shot the club up. It's a pool of toxicity. Yeah. We ain't talking about us being together.
Y'all doing backstrokes in it.
Yeah,
you doing the butterfly in the pool.
It's just a lot of trying to get a relationship out of that situation when that man's still in a situation. He in a situation. I don't care what you say. Yeah. He's still in a situation.
He's in a situation. And she's been dating him for 2 months.
Yeah.
And the baby so that would make the baby 8 months old. You when you met him, the baby was 6 months. You've been dating him for 2 months. The baby is very much still a baby. The baby is a baby. Okay, the baby is not a bigger baby. The baby is not a toddler baby or a preteen baby. The baby is a baby.
And I don't even think we could. So I think we need to change our terminology too when we talk about certain things.
Okay.
Is that I don't think that 2 months with someone that you don't even live with or anything qualifies as a relationship.
No.
You barely know this person. You're dating. You're
That's
still
it.
learning and figuring each other out. So to judge the strength of your relationship, compared to what for them seems to be a much longer period of them being together, him and his baby mother, I think that you should take a little more time to withhold judgment on the strength of your relationship.
Yeah. And that is actually a perfect segue into exactly where I want to start, which is the misnomers that you arrive to when you're dating young.
Okay.
Because I feel like there is something to be said about your lack of understanding of relationships and dating truly when you are very young. And she says she's 23 and he's 22. And so it makes me think about when I was 23 and 22 and 21 and how easy it was for me to think that something was more than what it was. I was so naive. As long as it felt like love, well, it was love to me. As long as they said they love me, I didn't know at that time to really be like looking for signs that they love me. It was like, well, he said he loves me. He said he loves me. And that was enough because I was so naive, and naivety comes with youth. It
Yes.
just does. You think about 8-year-olds, how you always have to, hey, don't do that, because they're not considering all the things. They'll dart out into the street because they're misguided. They haven't lived long enough to understand the repercussions of not thinking a bit. And so I want to talk about dating young and how it's like cute and sweet, but also it's like, oh, you're gonna really mess up around this time.
So I have two thoughts around dating young.
Mm-hmm.
So number one is that it reminds me of, as you guys know, I'm the sports guy here.
Mm-hmm.
Dating young reminds me of like a sports game, or like, let's say, a football game.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that with football, you have to play offense and defense. But in the beginning of the game,
I'm keeping up.
in the beginning of the game, when you know you have plenty of time, the score is still 0-0, you tend to be a little bit more aggressive. You tend to be more offensive minded. You tend to have this mindset to where you're willing to take chances. Why? Because you have time. And the score is still 0-0, nothing to lose. But then as the game goes on and time starts to dwindle, then you start to be more strategic. You start to take less chances. Even if the score becomes more, you get more points, then you have now something to lose or something to give up. So you're like, all right, I need to be more defensive minded versus offensive minded. And I feel like that's the same contrast when it comes to dating. In your everyday life, is when you're younger, you feel like you have time, so you can be more aggressive. You can fall in love. You can set a standard. I don't want somebody with kids, or I want to date somebody like this, or I want to be like that. And you're more offense, less defense. But as the older you get, first you feel like time's running out, so you're more strategic in how you move and who you're, deciding to deal with. Also, a lot of times in sports, as you play the game, you start to understand what the team is doing. So you start to move a little different after gaining more experience. So just like in life, as you get older, you gain more experience in dating. So you're understanding how you move. But then also, like I said, in sports, you amass a score. So now you're more defensive to try to protect that. When you get older, you start to really get more things and amass more things and get deeper into your career. So there's a lot more things that you're protecting. So you're playing more defense than just straight offense. So it's like you're doing this game where it's like, all right, I want to go out, be aggressive, but I also have something to protect and something to like not let people in, or I don't want somebody taking advantage of me because I bring this to the table. So I think that that's like one
That's such a good analogy.
difference when it comes to being young. And I have another one, but I want to comments on that.
I mean, I that was so perfect. Like it's so true. Even when you were saying that, I think about like physically aging. You see kids like playing, how rough they play, how rough they fall. It's why a lot of kids have experienced broken bones, because they can just they're just wild sometimes.
For sure.
Where the older you get, you learn that your body can't handle it. Even just literally, physically, your bone density might not be where it needs to be. The older you age, literally, a little wrong twist or turn can require a hip replacement or a knee replacement, or it can cause death. Something where when you were 10 or 12 or 20, you could just physically do that. I think about the joke. I was laughing at Cat Williams where he talked about at a certain age, when he get up in the morning, it's like an old car. He got to warm that thing up. He got to warm it up. It's like I wake up, but I don't physically get up. I'm laying in the bed, warming my body up to get up. I got to let these bones get some, so that when I get up, it's not as many cracks and things. So such a great analogy, and it's so true. You feel way more, I guess, whimsical and naive because you just haven't seen a lot. You haven't experienced a lot. You haven't amassed things that you could lose. You probably still live at home, so everything in there for the most part belongs to your parent or your parents or whoever you live with. And so yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I do think there are pros and cons to it. I think there are some pros to not being tainted by certain life experiences, because sometimes those life experiences can really harden you. It's some of the reason why some people are single and unable to get into the relationships they want to. For those that are choosing to be single because that's what you want, cool. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who are single and they're like, I want this, but they're jaded. They are so jaded that they cannot give people a clean slate when they go to date them.
For sure.
They're coming and bringing all of that experience from the last 15 years of bad relationships, bad dating, abusive situations. You bring in all of that to the new person, and the new person's like, I just met you today. But if you hadn't gone through all of that, you probably would appear to be a better partner because you haven't experienced it. So I think that's a really fair analogy.
Yeah, and that's been my experience. Like, luckily, Brie and I, we dated when we were younger, and we had stuff going on, but nothing to the point to where it was like, all right, we need to figure out how we're gonna break this up or how this would affect this. We weren't really protecting anything that was really that vital or that important. We were more offensive minded and like, yo, we just looking for love.
Yeah.
We getting this out the mud together. Versus we always talk, and I talk to my friends like, I can't imagine dating now in the position I am now. I would be way more like, just like I said, defensive. Like, I'd be like, why is this person with me? Is it because I have a social media following, or it's because I have access to this, or is it because of the job I have? Like, it's so much more of like trying to figure out, while I'm also looking, still trying to be like, who's here for the right reasons? Versus in those moments, initially when Brie and I was like, yo, we just here, just, you know,
gotta really like me.
Yeah, we finding love. And even like when you're young, what you bring to the table, you may have a good job for 21, but in the sense of like being an actual adult, you know, like, you know, it's like 421. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
But the other thing I think about when being a kid is that like we all have our own opinions and perspectives. And I think that a lot of times when we're young, we don't really know what we need out of a relationship. And I think that our opinions and perspectives are based off of really two things. One, the things that we experience, and then two, the things that we hear and see. And unless we experience something, if we never experienced something before, our thoughts, our opinions, our perception on that thing is all based off of what we've heard and seen, because we have no experience
You have
to
no
form
direct
that.
experience.
And that's what your theories are, and that's what you guess. So when you enter into a relationship, what you think you need, if you've never experienced real relationship or a long-term relationship, what you feel like you need out of that relationship is all based off of things that you heard or things that you've seen. So until you're actually in it, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, I remember being younger, I thought compatibility and what makes that work is finding somebody just like you. Right? Like that's how you make a relationship work. She got like the same things I like. She got to do the same things I think. She got to think the same way I think. But then actually after I experienced a real relationship and a long-term relationship, I realized, oh no, it's about the balance. Like, it's okay for them not to be the same as you because they're stronger in that area where you're weak. So that balance is more important. But I know that now because I experienced it. So now as I'm older, let's say I'm 35, 40, after I've experienced a few things, now when I'm looking, I know what I want.
I know exactly what I want.
And I feel that in my bad. And I feel that even in my life now, like Bree's like, yo, you're so on top of things lately. I'm like, I just got older and I understand now, like, all right, this is how I like things in my bathroom set up. This is all that I need. This is what I use. Use that brand and that's it. In my closet, I don't need all these clothes. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this for the workout and then do this and then boom. Or like now I'm getting older. I'm able to put out all the fluff. I'm not thinking about what I feel like life should be like or what I've seen other people do. I'm like, no, I did that. I experienced it. This is what I need to make that happen. And this is what I like. And I feel like when you're young, you don't necessarily have that. You're just basing it all off of what you see and what you hear and what TV says or what you read. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But once you experience it, then you look at things and view things a little differently.
For sure. I think when you're dating specifically and you're young, it's not 100% different from when you're dating older. except for the fact that I think you have to give yourself so much more room for exactly what you just talked about, which is the fact that you don't necessarily know and you need more room and time for processing.
Yeah.
It's like older computers compared to, newer computers or older devices. You remember how long it used to take you to get on the internet. There was a whole process that took several seconds for you to be like, shh, shh, shh. It took a while to get you where you needed to be. Where now, as we've learned more about technology, as more things have become available in the market, as developers have gone to different conferences or been in with scientists or however it goes when you're doing these things, they now have all these tools so they can process a bit faster.
For sure.
I think when you're younger, you have to realize that you probably need to process a little slower, just because you haven't experienced enough. So you don't know. You really are looking at a situation like, okay, this could be a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing. And I don't have enough life behind me or enough experiences behind me to know quickly. So let me sit on that for a second.
It's kind of like AI, how they
Yeah.
say it's like AI adapts, but it takes past data to learn then what to do in the future.
Yes.
So that's exactly
or
what
you
you're
have to
talking
keep
about.
using it in order for it to start to
learn.
shape and learn. It's like even with your phone when you're writing and autocorrection a lot of times is based on your habits, not just what is truly correct. We worked for a company, Kettler. When I worked for Kettler, Kettler was always in all caps.
Yeah.
That's how the logo was. Because I was typing that so many times when we were working there, my phone started to correct whenever I would type
caps.
Kettler in lower caps. It would make it all caps. So same thing. It's like when you're dating, you have to get used to a routine. You have to understand what's happening. You have to give yourself time to do that. I think it's good advice for all ages, but I think it's crucially important when you are younger because you are just so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. This might really be the first adult relationship that you've ever had, or sort of kind of relationship that you've ever had. And so I'm not saying don't trust yourself, but don't fully trust yourself. Give yourself time to sit with certain things so that you're not getting duped so easily. I very much wish that I had other resources around me. Not that the people around me were bad or anything, but just people around me to tell me that, like, and maybe they were, and I just don't remember it because you also have that like gas on your chest when you're young, like, I'm an adult, I know what I'm doing now, I've been waiting for this moment. But I wish I had more resources around me to say, like, take your time with that. You don't need that right now, or that particular relationship or that thing that you're trying to pursue and have this very like, I want to be with this person. That's okay. You have time. You don't have a ton of time. I'm not saying you have to wait until you're 30 or 40. We talked about this on an episode recently when you asked you, I think that you should live on your own before you live with somebody else.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, but I do think that you have to sometimes be a little more patient with, have you considered all things? Have you explored all things? Have you really sat with this, like, and paid attention to how it makes you feel, which is a big part of what I want to get into with her scenario, is how do these things make you feel, and why do we ignore how things make us feel for the purpose to just say, what, I got something, I'm doing something. When you're young, you don't think of, you like, I just like him. Yeah, but how is he making you feel? How does it make you feel for real? Like, how does it play an impact in your life, the practicality of it, but also paying attention to how situations fall upon you, how you feel after those conversations, how you feel when you're in their presence, how you feel when the baby mama calls your phone. How did it make you feel? Really sit with that. If you do that more often, I think we would see a lot more people get in successful relationships younger that can stand the test of time, because you took your time to get your processors sharpened before you just jumped headfirst into a crazy relationship off of love. Yeah, it's not enough. Love's not enough.
So speaking to that, why do you feel like people ignore those signs?
Oh man, I mean, I think it's so many reasons. Some of it, to me, at least when I ignored the signs, it was just for selfish fulfillment. Whatever I was getting was just like so good to me. Like, whatever that little thing was, it could have been this much good and this much bad, but this good was so good that I was like, I'm gonna take all that bad with it. Maybe it'll change, maybe all that bad will go away, or maybe I will not notice the bad so much the longer I just push through it. Every single time though, I was wrong. Okay. Every single time I pushed past the bad outweighing the good, I regret it. Like I needed these lessons, right? They've made me a better woman today, but never, ever, ever did me ignoring the bad versus the little bit of good I was getting. Never did it work out for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, never worked out for me in the long run. Nope. So I don't know. Why do you think that people ignore that?
I think it's very, a lot of things that we deal with in life, and this is a relationship tip if you ever want to try to help yourself, is try to take things out of relationships and put it in real world situations. As y'all know, I do that all the time when I try to explain relationships.
That's a real love of a pro tip. Say it again.
I don't even remember what I said. What I say, Rhonda?
You said take the situation that's happening in a relationship
out of a relationship and base it on a real world situation.
Yes.
Because that removes the emotion, number one, and the bias, from the situation. That's and good. I think that when it comes to like ignoring signs, why we do it in relationships, it's the same reason why we do it in every other facet of our lives. Let's say one could be like a lack of awareness. You're just floating through it, not paying attention really. And that's the same thing like in life. Like, why do people run red lights or go through stop signs? Sometimes they're looking at their phone, they singing a song. Why you like miss your exit, that sign? It's like, because you just going through it, not even really paying attention. You just kind of floating through things, right? Another reason why is people can be intoxicated. And I think that's what you had spoke to. Like why people may run a red light or miss a sign is because they've been drinking and it's just something that's impairing their judgment. Yeah. So it's like the same thing what you're talking about. Like, yo, either sex is so good, like these signs are coming up, but like...
What signs?
Well, I ain't see nothing.
I ain't
like,
see no signs.
I ain't see it, or I seen it, but I'm just like, I'm drunk. Like,
whatever.
I'll be all right. Like, it'd be fine. Like, I'll be fine. Like, you get intoxicated, and that's what people deal with in real life when they miss signs or do things. And like you said, the satisfaction of it, it could be something like, oh, I run this red light because I'm getting to this place a minute faster than what I would have did if I waited. And it's like, was that worth possibly risking your life
and
in
others.
This moment and others just to get a minute back from this situation? And that's the thing you have to figure out. But I think also you have like this maybe like superhero mentality or syndrome to where you feel like you can I know first is like, I know that this sign applies to everybody else, but somehow I'm different, right? And not only am I different, I am the hero in this story.
Yes.
And I can save
it. I can save it.
I can fix it. I'm different than everybody else. For some reason, people have died going through red lights and ignoring signs and things like that. But for some reason, you know what? I'm a superhero.
That's it.
And I'm different. And I can change this and I can save it. And we see it in real life. Like people think I see the red sign, the red flags, but I feel like I can just, if they just listen to me and they just, if I can just help them along with X, Y, and Z, then maybe I can. And it never works.
Never works.
Rarely works. No. Like rarely works. And other situations is too, I think we have to think, sometimes we don't trust our own judgment.
I was going to say, or you feel like you deserve it because you don't value yourself. You don't think that you deserve better. Yeah. You struggle with worth and understanding. So the red flags, AKA bad behaviors that aren't necessarily good for you, you think you deserve that.
Yeah. Like I completely agree. And I think that when you don't trust your judgment, then you're liable to kind of like push through things or go through things that aren't necessarily what you want or that's really good for you, but you see it and but you're second guessing yourself, and then it can end up like even worse than what you had thought. And I've had that happen before, like with things like Bree and I. Oh, this happened to Bree. I'm gonna tell you how this. Going to a restaurant, right? That meal has a pepper beside it. It's telling you.
It's spicy.
Spicy. That's the sign. Like, listen, this is a sign telling you that it's spicy. You don't like spicy, but for some reason, like, you don't trust yourself and trust your like you're like,
Yeah.
but you know, I did have that one thing that was spicy and it wasn't
It
as
wasn't that
bad.
good.
And it's like, you know, you don't like spicy though. That's not what you do, and that's not what you like. You don't like the way it come in. You definitely don't like the way it come out.
Definitely
You
don't like the way it come out.
But you second guessing yourself, and then you end up getting it, and you like, "Ah, why did I get this? Mouth burning up. Then you go use the bathroom, that burning
Everything
up too,
burning up.
and it's just all because you didn't stick by what you know. Like this is who I am, and this is what my standard, and this is what I like, and I'm just gonna trust that, and not gonna feel like I'm missing out on something if I don't get it. Like this is how I feel, and I same with relationships. People, they'll go through something and see a red flag, but then they'll be like, well, maybe it's not as bad, or maybe even though I dealt with this before, maybe this one might be a little different. And well, it is different because we have more chemistry than the last person I had who did this. So maybe we can push through this where I couldn't push through the last one. And it's like you're talking yourself out of this, and you're not trusting your own judgment and the standards that you put in place in order to protect yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
And that's what essentially loops back around to the whole youth of it all,
Yeah.
right? Like your judgment is not as developed, right? And so it's fair that you don't necessarily trust it, and which is why you need to take a little more time to process it. But for even older people, my age or older, same thing. Like you've got to really sharpen your discernment. I feel like I've said that so many times. I don't know if that's like one of my cornerstones, but sharpening your discernment so that you can come to conclusions faster, it only benefits you. And you're not jumping to conclusions. You have just sharpened your tool where you can look at something and be like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that is. Stop moving right along. I'm not even about to play with that because I played with it before and I played with it again. And now I know for a fact that I've taken the time to look at that, dissect it, and figure out if it quacked like a duck, if it walked like a duck, it's a duck. I'm not no more am I being like, it might be a geese. Like an owl a little bit. That might be a parakeet. No, it's a duck.
The thing is that I love cliches because cliches, although they are cliche, they have stood the test of time as sayings because there's so much truth in them.
Yes.
The walk like a duck, quack like a duck, like that's a thing because that's trying to help you identify if you see something and all the actions are showing you that it is that thing, you should trust that that is that thing, and that is to protect you and for your safety.
That's it.
So it's like you have to understand that
it's you trying to convince yourself that it's not everything that you see it to be. And then that makes you the problem, right? You're the problem. You gotta sharpen that tool because you will, when you have emotions and feelings involved, it is intoxicating. It will mix things up. It's like if there's a duck that is born differently, a duck that somehow came out with the colors and the feathers of a goose. Okay, maybe from a distance that does look like a goose, right? But once you get up close to it and you watch the behaviors of it, you can learn that that's still a duck. So it's sharpening your tool. It's getting your vision to not be rose colored and not be blurry, where you can just be like, oh nah, that's exactly what that is.
For sure. And one thing that as you get older, another cliche that works is, let me see if you could finish this one.
Okay.
What did curiosity do to the cat?
Killed it. Killed the cat.
Like, I feel like as you explore, sometimes you get so curious, like you know what you want, but like your curiosity is taking you past a point to where you know you don't want to be, just to see what's on the other side of the curtain. And it's like, as you get older, you just have to learn, like, no, when I go into a relationship, this is what I want. I don't care what's behind curtain number 1 or curtain number 2. If I see something here that I don't like and know I don't want, I don't need to see the rest.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I seen quite enough.
Thank you. Like there's no more, I don't need to see more things revealed that could change my way of thinking or muddy up my judgment. When I see that thing that is something I don't want. Like I'm good. I don't need the curiosity. I don't have the fear of missing out. Like it's okay to have your standard, as Rhonda says, and stand on it. This is what I want. I'm okay with that. And I feel like you said, that comes with age. Like as I'm getting older, I'm feeling that. Like I know now what I want. I know what I care about. I know what I desire. And those other things I don't really care about. Like now I'm okay. And people who are older still feel this, but I'm okay with like I went to Broccoli Fest. First day, great event, great festival. Anybody should go. Like first day, it was hot. It was started to rain at one point. It was a lot sitting around, and I was just like, all right, day 2, I'm good.
I'm good. I've seen enough.
It was dope. The acts were dope. I got the network. So going around for second day, I'm older now. I don't got no fear of missing out.
Yeah.
I know what I was hot, and it was raining, and I'm good for this right now. And then I also, as I get older, I understand that there are a few moments in your life, and this applies to relationships too. So I want people to know this. There are a few moments in your life that are truly can't miss, one in a lifetime moments. Only a few.
Yeah.
Maybe one hand, maybe you can include a second hand. Other than that, a lot of these moments and people that you think are once in a lifetime opportunities or something that can't ever happen again is not true. These things will come up again. These things will happen again. These things will show themselves maybe in a different way or maybe from a different place. But a lot of these things can't miss opportunities, but you will approach them sometimes maybe because it's the first time that opportunity has happened for you.
Yeah.
You think that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I've never met somebody who's been this passionate about me in a relationship. Oh, this is a once in a lifetime thing. I need to take advantage of this. I need to look past some of the BS because will this ever happen again? And you'll realize, no, there'll be other people that will do that.
Yeah.
But this is just your first time. So you're seeing it as this experience that I got to catch it now.
I got to do it now.
I got to do it now.
I got to give it my all.
But no, as you get older, you start to realize well, none of that thing don't matter. And I realized that even talking about Broccoli Fest is all right, when I was younger, I would have been like, no, I gotta be there.
Go back to second day.
It's Kiki Palmer there and all these people. And then I realized after my experience, there'll be another event. There'll be another situation.
Yeah.
Well, these things happen all the time.
And the thing is, even if it doesn't, you have to prepare yourself to know that might be okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay because it's not. And that's
life
why
or death.
And that's why we talk about what you want. That's what the underlining thing is, and making sure that's grounded in something real. Because if you're like, oh, I want to do this or meet this person in this place, in this situation, in this thing, and you build it up in your head, that's how you want it, then you'll think that'll never happen again. But opportunities come in so many different ways and so many different forms. So although it may not happen like you imagined it happening, how you thought it would happen, it can still happen. It'll just look a little different. You still may have that opportunity, but it may happen in a different way. You don't know how that's going to come about things. So I think that's why you just have to operate on your standards, on your morals, and don't do things outside of yourself. Because once you get trapped into a place that's outside of yourself and then you get accepted when you're acting outside of yourself or acting outside of yourself, now you're stuck in being outside of yourself. And that's now the expectation that people have for you when they see you, when they interact with you. So now you're at this internal battle to where you're like, this is me, but in order to be accepted in this space of where I want it, I now have to be something I'm not.
And now I got to perform. That's it. Write that down. Write that down.
Take notes.
If you have come to this part in the podcast, rewind it a little bit, because sometimes you listen to podcasts, you might have been doing something else. Go back and catch what Dre just said. Okay, friends? Okay.
We all know them people, don't we?
What? You see me over here tearing this chair up.
Listen, that's the one thing.
I have been these people before. People is me before.
That's the one thing whenever you're in church and you hear amen, or wherever you at a comedy show and you hear a laugh, whatever they said, that person who laughing or saying amen has some relation
we are
or experience.
To the thing, man. Oh, God.
They done been through it. They done had it. They done experienced it or know something. And it's like, whoo.
Listen, I mean, it's so many red flags, right? And I think it's easier to talk about red flags.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much easier for everybody to talk about them. But I think it's important to kind of talk about the red flags in O's situation that she walked on by, and talk about some green flags that may be the opposite of that. So the very first red flag in her situation was when she met him, her family told her he has a new baby. Now, some people may not see that as a red flag. I'm not sure who those people are.
You think that's a red flag, like leave, abort?
No, well, because red flags they're flags, they're not stop signs, right? They're to alert you that there might be an issue here. Look, keep your eyes alert. So I do think it's a flag. I think it's something that you should be like, or explore, or try to like somewhat figure out the reasoning for it. And again, using, I love a full circle moment, using Russell and Sierra.
Yeah.
Sierra was a new mom, and she had a 6-month-old when she met Russell.
Yes.
She had a new baby, same age as the baby in this scenario. And Russell probably was like,
okay,
she's beautiful, all the things, but she had a new baby. So I don't know if there's drama with the daddy. She is a public figure, so he probably could have gathered there was a little bit. But then it's worth exploring to figure out what are the dynamics of that. So cool. Yeah. Let's just say that was her first flag, right? Next one is when he says the mom, the child of the mother, is living with him.
Yeah, nah.
Now I'm gonna call that one a stop sign. And I'm going to introduce a green flag that you should be looking out for if a person says they have a child. The green flag is that them and their child live alone, or perhaps if he's so young, he lives with his parents, but he does not, or she does not, under no circumstance, cohabitate with the other parent, because that relationship should be over if you are in the picture. If somebody's talking to you, trying to date you, they should be single. Like single, like all the way single, not on their way out of a relationship, not still living with the person that they were last in a relationship with. It's so complicated. And how in the world can you really seriously date them if they are still in a household with their ex? How can you comfortably do that? I know there are exceptions.
I couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it either. I couldn't do it either. Now, I couldn't do it anymore. I did do it one time before. I did it one time.
In your youth?
In my youth, I was younger. And I will say, there was never any issue with his ex. Never. Him and I broke up for different reasons, but him and his ex lived together. They lived in a house together. And at first I was like, nah, this is crazy. He was like, I'm telling you, it's not like that. Like, we literally really became really good friends. We have 2 children together. I would be at the house and we would all be together, like hanging out. Him and I think, were together for like a year or so, hanging out. We would have movie night. It would be times where I would go there and she would be there, but he wasn't, there yet, coming from work or whatever. Her and I would sit around and talk, but that was an exception. Okay. Like, that's not the rule. I would run if a man said to me, oh, he lived with, she lived with me. And then the woman called you. She made communication with you. She said first she DM'd her, and then she called you. I don't know if y'all young enough, old enough to remember this song called Woman to Woman. I cannot think of the woman's name who sings it, but it's called Woman to Woman. And the song starts off with a phone call, and the woman says, hello, Barbara. This is Shirley. And Barbara is calling Shirley to tell Shirley that she better leave her man alone.
I think I heard this.
You've heard this song. You've heard Woman to Woman. She's saying, I'm coming to you, woman to woman.
Is this the one where the one girl's like, I'm young, I ain't got a lot to bring to the table? And like in the song, like she's basically saying she ain't got a lot to bring to the table, but what she got is love. Like basically love is what she bring to the table, but she ain't got nothing else to bring to the table. So
he's like,
I think maybe that's one part.
Maybe. But yeah, she's basically coming to her to tell her, I'm dealing with him. And I see that you are too. So I'm gonna give you these details because I love him, and what we got over here is special. What we got, you ain't gonna be able to get in between that, Shirley. The Barbara versus Shirley, or the Barbara calling Shirley thing, also a stop sign. That is not a red flag. That is a hard, hard stop. I've always wondered though, like, why though do you think people do that? Why do you think the one person calls the other person? Instead of just dealing with the person in between, why do you think that they circumvent and be like, hey, I saw that you messing with my girl, or hey, I see that you talking to my man. Why you over here? What y'all doing? Why do you think people do that?
I think it's the same reason that people get jealous in relationships and, have all they think that, I guess there's first maybe some internal feeling like I'm great, right? And the only reason that this situation is being disrupted is because of your presence. Had it not been for you, things will be good. And they completely dismiss the other person's choices and decisions to partake in that thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why, is that it's just like this thought, like if it weren't for you or this temptation being present, then it wouldn't even be a thing. So that's what I think.
I think it's also a moment to sabotage. That's what you think is going to happen. If you call and you tell this other person, oh, well, we're doing this and we're doing that, and he was over here on Tuesday and he told you that he was really such and such. You're going through all of these details. And as the cliche says, this is a cliche. Maybe we should name the episode The Cliches. The devil is in the details.
Sound like an old group.
The cliches. Shoo-doo-doo. Yeah, the devil is in the details. And so in some ways that's a positive, but in this case it's a negative. The more you know, the worse that's going to get for you. So I think there's this idea that if I tell you all the messy, nasty details, paint this person out to be the liar and blah, blah, blah that they are, you'll go away.
Listen,
Shirley
man,
will leave.
I feel like we gotta take the approach of, Ron and I used to work in property management, right? And it's like, you see this a lot when it comes to credit checks or criminal checks. It's like, yo, this is the standard. If you want to live here, this is the standard. If you want to buy this car, this is the standard. If you want to get this loan, if I run this and you do not qualify, you need to fix that on your own.
Yeah.
I'm not fixing it with you. You fix it on your own. And then once you raise your standard and raise your credibility, then you could come back.
Right.
Possibly. It may already be taken at that point.
Yep.
But that's your law. That's a lesson.
That's a lesson.
That's a lesson for you.
That's
That thing, I need to be on my stuff and be prepared when I approach something that I really want.
That's it.
But like this whole, he ain't really got together and he's still in the situation, but I'm going to work through it with him, is like, everything. I said this before.
For what?
Oh, I said this before if you listen to the show. Everything you do at the beginning of the relationship are the bricks and the foundation that you're building your relationship off of. It's only 2 months in. This is where you're starting. This is what you're saying is acceptable.
Yeah.
This is what you're saying is okay and what's okay for him to do. And now you're getting this mindset to where you have completely added a third person into this relationship with you guys. And now you have made it less about your relationship with him and more of a competition between you two. So now you're in this position to where it's like, do you even really want the relationship, or do you want to win this battle with this other girl to show that you're better in some way? Because we fall into that trap. Men do it when we come to dating. We compete, or it's about getting sex, and it's like, do we get it? Like, it's the chase. But then once that's over, it's like, yeah, this relationship really wasn't.
Right. You don't like the person.
I
You
don't
just
really
like the chase.
I like the chase. I like the excitement. And I feel like in this situation, you're setting this foundation in this relationship or whatever it is at this current moment, that it's like, all right, what have we experienced in these 2 months? I'm with a dude and I'm telling him I'm probably intimate with a guy that is living with his baby mother, probably,
and his mother
with a child. And I'm still around after I know this information after the baby mother called me, after there's been some friction. Now look at your relationship right now. That's the foundation. That's what you're building off of. Is that stable? Is that something that you feel like will be something that will last the test of time, that will last 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? And even if you do get through that, think about the scars,
Oh my
the
gosh.
injuries, the traumas
the
that
loss
you'll
of
endure,
Whew.
like through trying to battle through all of that. And you're 23 years old.
23.
Is that worth it?
Absolutely not. And I done let two of y'all call me auntie. So here we are. Auntie Rhonda says, absolutely not, love. Like no. And I know that calling someone delusional, right? When you say that, like, you're delusional, it's offensive. It's a hard truth that doesn't sound nice to hear, right? I understand that nobody wants to be told they're being delusional, because that is a roundabout way of saying you are kind of stupid or you don't see things for what they were. So I say that there's a great amount of delusion in this. I say that in love, and I say that as a corrective, like a constructive correction, that stop seeing a duck being a duck and wanting it to be a different bird. What you are seeing in just 60 days, 8 weeks, break down 2 months, okay? It's not a lot of time. It's some stuff that has happened in the last 2 months that it just happened so fast because it was such a short period of time. I'm telling you right now to continuously push past this and use language that I specifically highlighted in the way that you wrote. We started liking each other deeply. Liking each other deeply. You can really enjoy somebody's company. You can really enjoy their time. You can like them, but liking and deep just combined together, it's just too soon. So that's the first twinge of delusion. Then there is the she messaged me and told me that they were still seeing each other, still sleeping together, sent me some proof of that, but you specifically highlighted that she left out some things, almost to say that she is wrong. She hid her part in the situation. She only showed me his part in the situation. Newsflash, he's not supposed to have a part in the situation at all. He's not supposed to be participating in anything with his child's mother, because he's telling you that he's not with her anymore. He doesn't want to be with her anymore. So that's the second little twinkle of delusion. And the last one, the most concerning one, is that their situation is toxic and yours is more stable. It's not. It's not. Y'all are all in the same mixy, messy situation. When you see two people arguing from afar, do you know who's right and who's wrong?
Nope.
Do you know who's the fool and who's not? You don't. You don't. So looking from the outside in, which is what we're here to do for you, I don't know who's sensible in this situation, but you have the opportunity, and I'm glad you wrote into us, because you now have the opportunity to walk away and not be stuck in this situation with him, because you don't have a baby with him. You don't have to stay in this situation with him. You're not living with him and his mom. So you have the upper hand as long as you take it and you run with it and you realize that, like, this is nothing but a recipe for a disaster. It's already a disaster. I don't think it's going to get any better by you pushing through it and just following what you feel in your heart and not listening to what's happening in your head.
Yeah, I completely agree. So to answer your question, should you leave him alone? My answer is yes.
Absolutely.
And we don't normally all the time give like straight, like,
Matter of
this is
fact.
what you should do.
Yeah.
But if this, I haven't lived life for a long time. I've been on this earth for 30 years. But I guarantee you there is a higher level than what you're currently experiencing. I feel like you are at a point to where you feel like I may not get something as great as this. And it's like, no, this situation that you're in, like, you could do better than this.
You can.
And you deserve better than this.
Yes.
And it's not, as I said before, a competition between you and the girl. It's not to be better than her.
Nope.
That's not what you should be thinking. Like, you know, he's good. I like him. We have a great chemistry, and I know I can be better than what he currently has. So now that's my goal, is to show that I'm better than what he currently has. That shouldn't be your objective or goal.
Nope.
There's a lot more out there for you.
Yeah.
And you'll see that as you start to grow, as you start to understand what you want, as you start to raise your standard, you'll realize like, oh, there's men out here that will meet this standard. And I deserve that.
Yeah. Maybe listen to big sis, big bro, slow down on that auntie thing a little bit, y'all. Just a little bit. But let's trust me, you don't need this love. So I'm glad you wrote in. Thank you so much for writing into us. We hope that we were able to help you, baby, run. And the update I would like from you is to say, hey, I left them. Okay, that's the only one I'm accepting. All right. If you want to write into us, you know where to find us. RelationshipRestored.com. Click the contact and write into the show. Give us the deets. We will be here to help you. You can also follow us on social. I'm at Ronnie Cates.
As Dre Smith.
And at Relationship Restored.
Peace.
See you next week.